Come spend Easter with me and my family on our farm in Europe. Hey, my name is Teresa from the blog freeterflower.com, where I share all about our simple life on our European farm. Easter is a very special time in the Czech Republic. Most of our Easter traditions actually predate Christianity, which is fun because they are all extremely quirky and bizarre. Maybe you have heard about some of them. For example, the infamous women whipping. It sounds crazy when I say it, and yes, there's definitely an element of that, but there's also an element of charm. However, I do think that you have to experience it in person to feel that. It is exactly what it sounds like, and it is still practiced today. It literally happened at my house this Easter. Boys and men will go and weave these kinds of whips. We call them pomláska, and they will decorate them with ribbons, and they will go around from house to house in villages, and wherever there is a young woman, preferably an unmarried woman, they will whip her. Now, this is done very gently usually, although I have had some rather not so gentle experiences when I was younger. And the legend says that if you do not get this treatment every year, you will wither away and dry like an old flower that same year. So there's the incentive to do this. In return, the women and girls give the boys colored eggs and treats, and for adult men also some alcohol. So we are in Eastern Europe after all, or what I like to call Central Europe. Along with this bizarre tradition, there are a lot of delicious recipes that go into Czech Easter. One of them is this super adorable Easter lamb cake that I'm making. It is delicious and so fun. The kids love it. And what's best is that the recipe is actually really simple. The only thing you really need is to have that lamb mold, which is totally purchasable on Amazon. If you'd like the full recipe and that mold, I have a link to it in my blog post. I will link that in the description box below. So this Easter, we spent a really fun time with our family. I was baking and cooking a lot, but my husband and I also found a little time to sit down together and just spend a little bit of time in each other's company. We have 2 little children, and we have a farm, and we run other businesses as well, and life can feel really hectic in this season. And so it is such a nice treat for us on the weekends or holidays to put the kids down for their nap and then just sit, have coffee, chat, and enjoy each other's company. We plan our weeks ahead together, we meal plan, and we also discuss all the projects that have to take place at the homestead the following week. Pretty much everything we do happens as a team, so we will tag team the cooking. I do most of it, but sometimes I'm doing something else, and those times my husband steps in and helps me out. Other times he needs help with his projects around the farm. I usually do all the organizing and then some light physical help, while he does most of the heavy lifting. However, I am responsible for the entire garden, and a garden tour is coming soon, so if gardening is your jam, I have got you covered. Once my cake was done baking, I set it out to cool before attempting to take it out of the mold. Now, this is really important. Definitely leave it for some time in the mold to cool off and harden up before you turn it out on a wire rack to cool off. And it was right off back to baking for me. I actually cooked and baked so much on Easter, but I love all the traditional Czech Easter recipes, and so it is a true joy for me. I was actually really sad for all those years that I missed Czech Easter. It is one of my all-time favorite holidays in the Czech Republic, and the recipes are definitely a part of it. So the next thing I made was a traditional Czech sweet Easter bread. But if you know me, you know I love all things sourdough, and so I had to make this sourdough too. Little did I know, well, actually, I guessed, after knowing the history of sourdough a little bit better, that originally this must have been sourdough too, but most people do not make their sweetbread sourdough anymore. But I did. I converted the recipe to a sourdough recipe, and it turned out absolutely delicious. I added some raisins in for a little extra deliciousness. Let it rise. Now, it did rise for a really long time, much longer than my normal bread, but the result was so nice and airy and delicious, so good with your coffee. Once again, if you would like a printed out version of this recipe, and if you would like all my notes on it, you can head over to my blog, freetoflour.com, or I will link it in the description box below. I think that out of all the recipes I made this Easter, this particular one is the most versatile, and it's actually something that I think I will make other times of year as well, because it's just so delicious. It's just the absolute perfect amount of sweet, not too sweet, not too little.
Yeah.
And here I am with my kids, moving on to one of the other Czech Easter traditions, which is coloring eggs. Now, there are many different ways that we like to color our eggs in the Czech Republic and decorate them. I will be showing you some of these today. This is one of the most basic ones. We are dipping hard-boiled eggs in different tints and colors. I used a variety of natural colors and then also some that are not so natural, but that work really, really well. I really wanted some eggs to be nice and colored and some to have that really lovely natural feel to them.
Tam už se možná nevejde. Zkus ho dát tady.
Tady?
No, tak. Opatrně, opatrně, ještě kousek. No, dobrý. Tak se tam ponoříš. Jež, taky máma ho teďka trošku pustila, vidíš?
Yeah, before.
While the eggs were dying inside, I took the opportunity to go and start some more seeds. I am planting a much bigger garden this year than basically any other year before, and we are also approaching gardening a little differently. We are actually implementing a permaculture garden design that we had made. We had actually somebody help us with it, and we are implementing all the different facets of it. And let me just say, we are at the very beginning stages of it, and the garden is already looking fantastic. I have also been ordering all my seeds from a different place that uses permaculture gardening principles, and at the time of the recording of this video, I was just starting seeds. Now that we are a couple weeks on, I have little seedlings, and I actually transplanted most of my plants into the greenhouse and the garden, and they are doing so well, so much better than any other year, so there's definitely something to it. I will give you the full scope on that when I do a full garden tour. I mentioned that there are several different ways that we like to decorate eggs for Easter in the Czech Republic, and while I am in no means at all an expert at this, and I'm not even super great artist, so take everything you see with a grain of salt. However, I have been doing this my entire life. This is a very traditional way of decorating eggs. What I'm doing is I have a pencil with a pin attached to the top of it, and I am dipping it into some beeswax. and I am using that tip of the pen to create little designs on the egg. Then when I'm going to go and dip my eggs in some more coloring, the beeswax will stay, creating different patterns in the color. It's a very beautiful, very traditional way of decorating eggs that some people master so beautifully, where you really struggle to believe that it was not a machine painting those eggs, but a human. Once that was done, it was back to the kitchen for me. We were expecting some family over for Easter lunch, and so I was making all the traditional things, obviously. We had a lamb from friends of ours, home-raised lamb, so I'm making some traditional Easter lamb and traditional Czech Easter stuffing to go along with it. I really like stuffing in general, but let me just tell you, there's something special about Czech stuffing. I don't know whether it's the bread rolls, or maybe it was the raw milk that I used, or maybe it's the young nettles that we traditionally add into our stuffing, but it was delicious. And this particular one that I made was such a crowd pleaser at our family gathering. Everybody asked for seconds, and we finished it in no time. One of the things I really enjoy about Czech Easter is that unlike Easter in America, it is actually not a very consumer-heavy holiday. There are no Easter baskets, there are no Easter egg hunts, or any other things that really require purchases. Most of the traditions are things that you can create as crafts, and you actually should if you want to be traditional, and things that you can include your kids in as well. By the way, here I am picking those fresh nettles and other fresh herbs for my Czech stuffing. It might be a little surprising that we put what looks like weeds in our food, but trust me, it is delicious. I hope that you enjoyed spending this day with me and my family celebrating Easter, and please follow along for more European farm charm, delicious recipes, and homesteading tips. Till next week.